Among the great and good of global capitalism, it could almost be considered a hero's welcome. And that's because here in Dalian, China's Premier Wen Jiabao looks like delivering on what he promised less than 8 months ago in Davos. 8% growth in 2009, fueled by a $600 billion stimulus plan that he now vows to expand, and so create new engines of growth. Premier Wen says the measures are timely, forceful and effective. Rarely have governments' global executives, the markets, hung on every word uttered by a Chinese leader, notably those from countries in crisis looking for direction.
China feels also confident to lead, but the confidence is also responsibility. And that's the best message I have heard in these days, because we all look at the China and want to get the answers.
With global growth coming primarily from emerging economies like China and India with their vast domestic markets, there's even talk of a structural shift in the global economy from west to east. Though this may be far too premature, as Asians don't really spend enough.
The main impediment to consumer-led growth in Asia is the lack of a social safety net. And Asia has talked the talk, but it hasn't walked the walk. It needs to invest aggressively in social security, private pensions, medical care, unemployment insurance. Until it does that, Asians will remain predisposed toward excessive levels of precautionary saving and be reluctant to stimulate internal private consumption.
But unleashing consumption could result in an aftershock, high levels of inflation. Undeterred, China says the social security landscape is changing and will encourage multiple service providers. Which is great news for foreign companies, which have been salivating over this potentially huge market since China joined the WTO in 2001. But the government says the necessary reforms must be carefully managed. With the global economy still fragile, the great exporter's performance is today neither stable nor balanced. Premier Wen warns foreign executives not to pin all their hopes on a quick recovery on China. He promises to speed up efforts to boost domestic consumption by opening up the mainly state-protected service industries to the private sector. Nonetheless, those poised to enter the market here seeking growth should be braced for a long and arduous ride. In other words, don't rely on the Chinese to solve the world's problems. In fact, China needs help with challenges of its own, like how to move to a low-carbon economy. Big green energy deals could be the next big thing. In arid Inner Mongolia, American firm First Solar has signed a deal to build what will be the world's biggest solar energy power plant, covering some 65 square kilometres. Green energy, however, also includes cleaner fuels. Just ask Denmark's Novozymes here at Dalian to spread the word that its biofuel technology, based on crop waste, can cut China's annual gasoline consumption by 10% by 2020. This could reduce annual CO2 emissions by tens of millions of tonnes and employ 6 million farmers in poor rural areas.
Now we're not just doing something good for the environment, but certainly also for rural development and a wealth increase in the agricultural sector. So yes, China holds a lot of very, very interesting opportunities for us, and because of the sheer size of China, it's of course a very, very interesting market.
Of course, China is making strategic investments too, globally. Take Egypt, which now hosts over 800 Chinese-funded companies. Beijing is now studying a raft of 52 key projects worth up to $25 billion associated with the new Shenzhen-style, low-tax, low-tariff Suez Economic and Trade Zone.
If you do all of these kind of projects, you are not just aiming for one single country, even if it has 80 million of inhabitants and growing economy at averages of 5 to 7% during the last 5 years. The aim was basically the African continent and the Arab world.
The arrival of executives from China and beyond is also music to the ears of governments in Central Asia. While Egypt is enhancing trade through the Suez, Uzbekistan plans a sophisticated Silk Road logistics hub. Uzbekistan, rich in gold, uranium, oil and gas, is on a charm offensive to boost its fledgling economy and open up, forging strategic alliances to develop these sectors, plus vast swathes of quality farmland.
And I think that's a very good also point for the food security for China, issues for China, for Middle East, not just for China. And obviously there's potential in resources. We have to, I think, communicate, and the World Economic Forum is the very good, I think, platform to attract the investment and to attract the right people.
While Uzbekistan embarks on a trade and investment roadshow in Europe later this month, the world's leading power brokers will gather in Pittsburgh to cement the shaky global recovery. This could be tricky given President Obama's authorization of a 35% tariff on imported Chinese tyres, which could force countermeasures from Beijing. But what is clear as this meeting ends is that a confident China has shown just what can be achieved with resolve and focus.